Are high floor units always better than low floor units?
Which makes more profit, higher or lower floors? Now, a lot of buyers I meet, one of their top requests is to have a high floor unit because naturally we assume that with a better view and more exclusivity, it means better resale value. But is it true? Let's take a look at our first example, Avenue South Residence. It was built in 2023 and goes all the way up to the 55th floor with sea views towards the south and city views towards the north. Now, there were two units that sold there and both were in the same stack and at the same size, but one was on the 33rd floor and one was on the 6th floor. Any guesses which unit did better? Now, if you guess the higher floor, you are absolutely right because the 33rd floor sold at 1.77 million, whereas the 6th floor sold at 1.63 million. Now, on the surface, it may look like the higher floor did better because it sold for a higher price, but if we look deeper at the profits, the 33rd floor actually made 253k in profit, but the 6th floor made 306k. So why the difference? To understand, let's take a closer look at when these two-bedders were bought from the developer. Now, back then, the 33rd floor actually bought for 185k more than the 6th floor. So that means per floor jump, the premium is about 9k. Now, think about who is your buyer for a 2-bedroom. It's likely there's actually more people that are investors versus if it was a 3 or 4-bedroom. And what is the priority of an investor? To enter as low as possible so they can maximize their profit. Now, think about if they wanted to rent this unit out, the difference in rental for the higher floor versus lower floor is actually only a few $100s.
Looking at the difference in rental for the same size unit, we can see that on average they hover between $4,000 to $5,000. Now, we assume the lowest floor is the lowest transacted at $4,000 and the highest floor is the outlier of $5,500. That would mean a difference of $1,500 for a higher floor rental. Now, if we're using this to recover the difference in premium of $185,000, it would actually take a very long time to break even.
In this case, we can see that for this type of unit, the resale buyer may not be willing to pay as much of a difference for the high floor versus lower floor as the first buyer did. Let's look at another example, Gem Residence. Now, there were two units of 3 bedrooms that sold here. One was on the 37th floor and one was on the 11th floor. Both are the same stack and same size, but when they hit the resale market, the 37th floor made a whopping 633k, while the 11th floor made 578k. So why is it a different case here where we see the higher floor doing better? Let's look back at their entry price. So back then when the 37 and the 11th floor bought, the difference per floor jump was only $2,800. So aside from having a smaller premium, consider who is buying a 3-bedroom. Now, more often than not, they are own stay owners who are more willing to pay more for the comfort of their own stay. So the objective here is very different than the first example that we were looking at. In conclusion, there are two factors you want to consider when deciding whether to go for a high floor or a lower floor. Now, first, you want to look at what is the per floor jump premium, and second, you want to consider where most of the demand will be coming from for your particular layout. Now, do note this is not a one-size-fits-all, and every area the demand can look different. So if you're keen to understand more about your own development or any of the new projects, you can drop me a message and I'll catch you all next time.